Morning, children. Today we'll be moving towards to the chapter Changing Face of the Indian Democracy. I'd already explained you about the return of Congress to power in the year 1979 to 1986. Now, let us start about demand for autonomy in the Northeast. Okay, what is autonomy? What was the main reasons behind for the Northeast states of India to demand for the self-rule? About the Assam's hesitation against foreigners, and what was the response given by the center to all these movements. Autonomy, as you know very well, it's a word derived from Greek auto and nomo, which means law or rule. So in a simple language, we can say autonomy means one's law or self-rule. Okay, one's own law or self-rule. AUTONOMY, autonomy. In a simple language, you can say one's own law or self-rule. Is it clear? This is what you call autonomy. Got it? Now, see, especially in the northeast part of India, for the last decades, a lot of movements have been started, okay, especially for demanding autonomy. Not only that, the movements became more militant. Geographical demarcation of the territory was been asked. The main purpose of this movement is not only to bring the change in the existing system, but also to express the aspirations by the people having a distinct culture, tradition, and common pattern of living. That was the main thing, okay? The existing system, they wanted to change the existing system. Not only that, but they wanted to express the aspirations of all the people who are living in one community, in one area, who have got a same tradition, they have got a common pattern of living, etc. Now, when I come to the northeast states, okay, it consists of 8 states. When I come towards to northeast states, okay, so in these northeast states, total 8 states are there. Okay, total 8 states, namely Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, and Sikkim. Okay, these 8 states comprise the northeast states of India: Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, and Sikkim. Now, one thing it should be remembered that throughout the British colonial period, throughout the British rule in India, as you know very well, British rule in India, let's say something around 200 years. Okay, so throughout their rule in India, the northeast states were being very treated separately from other regions of British India. See, the other parts of British India and the Northeast India. Northeast India was being treated separately. That separation and the isolation policy from the rest of India, this created a lot of problem after the independence of India. After India got independent, a lot of problem was being created because, see, during the British rule, okay, during the time of British rule, during the era of British rule in India, northeast states were being completely treated very much separately from other regions of India. Now, what happened? What was the problem? What problem was being created after the independence of India? Now, India got independence in the year 1947, you know very well. So in the northeast, a sense of incompatibility created resentment to be a part of independent India. So slowly and slowly, anti-Indian sentiment started developing among the people of this region. See, Among the people of the region of Northeast India, the anti-India sentiment started developing because they were treated completely differently. They were looked upon completely differently by the British during their period, during their rule in India. So, Northeast, as you know very well, okay, I am talking about this part of India, Northeast. Okay, this states, the people started, okay, having or developing an anti-Indian sentiment. Now, here comes the problem. A border conflict started between India and China in the year 1962. Okay, India-China border conflict. Border conflict when? 1962. Now, when the conflict started or a dispute started, especially on border between India and China, now Northeast India became a strategic region as regards the national security of India. Okay, for the security of India, this area became a very, very important region now. Especially, as you know very well, okay, China is very much nearby to Northeast India, you know very well. Is it clear? Got it? So, this area became a very complicated area for the security of the India. So, as a result, the movement had to be suppressed. So, as you know very well, the movement had already started. Okay, in Northeast India, I told you, an indigenous ethnic group was considered as anti-national and became a security problem. Okay, now the indigenous group, the group which were residing in India since a very long period of time, okay, and they had started a certain movement, especially for autonomy, okay, and their feeling towards to India, okay, the feeling, especially as I told you, they started growing an anti-Indian sentiment among the people of this region. So whatever the movement has to be, whatever the movement will be started, that has to be suppressed. Suppression naturally invited resistance, and resistance was countered with more oppressive measures from the authority. This naturally created antipathy amongst the people and provided the ground for work for the armed confrontation. This developed strong aspiration for an independent homeland. Okay, now what happened? The government started, it was during this time only India-China border conflict started. This region became very, very complicated region now, especially in case of the Indian security for India. This region became very complicated. So whatever the movement has been started by the people living in this area, that has to be suppressed. The government has to suppress this movement. When the government started suppressing the movement, it created a lot of problem now. Okay, now it was countered by more oppressive measures. Okay, suppression invited resistance were countered. Okay, the people also did not turn back. The people of this region I'm talking about, okay, they even gave a great counter-attack, and when the counter-attack was being given by the people, the authority started utilizing more oppressive steps, more oppressive measure to suppress this movement. So this finally created an antipathy amongst the people and provided the groundwork for armed confrontation. So this really, now what happened? The people who are living in this area, okay, the people of Northeast India, okay, they were starting movement. Their movement was being suppressed by the government, and to suppress that movement, a force was being utilized by the authority. Now the people started thinking, the people of this Northeast India started thinking that the government don't have any sympathy towards us. It means that we don't belong to this country called India. The government of India is not taking any initiative, okay, to fulfill our needs, to fulfill our demand. So that was the reason why they provided the groundwork for armed confrontation. Now these people started lifting up the weapons, okay, to fight against the government, and this really developed an aspiration in the mind of the people of this area for independent homeland. Now we should get an independent homeland now, because we are not being treated properly by the government of India. We are being looked we are looked down by the government of India. We have been dominated by government of India. Our demands are not been fulfilled. Okay, our understanding. And whatever the movement we have started, the movements have been suppressed by using a violent force or oppressive measures. So that was the reason why a strong feeling for an independent homeland started developing in the mind of the people living in this Northeast India. Even before independence, there were several indigenous culture and political organizations representing the interests of the hill people of Northeast region. See, before independence also. Before independence means I'm talking about before the year 1947. Even that time also, there were many indigenous organizations, political organizations out here who were looking after the interests of the hilly people living in the Northeast area. See, the political organization were there. Okay. That organization which belongs, who are living in that place since a very long period of time. During that time also, before independence also, they had an organization, okay, who used to look after the welfare, who used to look after the interest of the hill people. After independence, some of this group became a pursue political activities, including protest against union with Assam. Thereafter, see, after independence, India got independence. Now, this group, the group of people who are the group of political organization, okay, which were there, who always look after the interests of the hill people, they started protesting against the union with Assam. They started saying that we will not be united. Don't put us into Assam. Give us a separate homeland. Is it clear? We are not willing. We are not willing to go and get in Assam. Is it clear? Are you understanding? Got it? So don't put us into Assam. We don't want it to include our areas with Assam. So that was completely protested by the political organization of this area. These groups also demand separation from Assam and for the demand for statehood. See, this group, the political organization, they also demanded that we should be separated from Assam. Don't unite us with Assam. Separate us from Assam and further give us a demand of statehood. Give us a separate state. We need a separate state. Thereafter, the movement was going on in Northeast. During state reorganization in independent India, 14 states were created based on language characteristics, including Assam in Northeast region. So finally, state reorganization. This organization was been developed during the independent India. Okay, 14 states were created. 14 states were been created, which was based on the language characteristic, include Assam in the Northeast region. That means after independence, 14 states were being formed. The minority groups demanded for a separate state out of Assam. See, the people who are in minority, okay, the people who are in minority, who have been included in Assam, they started demanding, give us a separate state out of Assam. Assam, just separate us from Assam. We want a separate state. But this demand was not looked upon. This demand was not been considered by the state reorganization. The ethnic group in various areas, especially the people of the hill areas, expressed their dissatisfaction. So when the demands were not been looked upon, when the demands were not been fulfilled, the people who are living in these hilly areas were very much dissatisfied with the government. Then when they were dissatisfied, this dissatisfaction led to the demand for autonomy and for the demand for separate states. See, first they demanded autonomy. Now, the people who are not satisfied, because try to understand, the people they had demanded, give us a separate statehood out of Assam. The demand was not considered. The demand was not looked upon. So this group, this tribal group who are living in various area, okay, they expressed this dissatisfaction. They were not at all satisfied with the response given to them by the government. So they demanded autonomy. First they demanded autonomy. After that, later on, they demanded separate state. Try to understand. First, they demanded autonomy. There, further, they demanded the separate state. The discontent gradually turned into anti-government movements and in some cases into armed conflicts with the government. See, when the movement started, okay, you know very well, the people were not at all satisfied with the response given to by the government towards them. So this movement slowly started converting into anti-government movement. See, now their movement was completely against the government. In some areas, even an armed conflicts also started with the government. This was the general picture of Northeast region. And different groups wanted separate state out of Assam. Say, this was a clear picture now. So this was happening in northeast region, in northeast area of India. These things were happening. This movement was going on. Now the picture was been clear. Is it clear? Now in northeast region, the different groups wanted separate state. Don't include us into Assam. Don't unite our area with Assam. So different groups started demanding separate state out of Assam. Now, let us move to the Assam. The case of Assam is very much peculiar. So, they do not demand secession, but they want Assam for Assamese. See, the demand of the case of Assam is quite different. Okay. What they just said, what they want. Let's see, what was the desire of Assam? They said that Assam for Assamese. Assam belongs to Assamese. That means the people who speak the language called Assamese, for them, this state is that. Assam is for Assamese. The massacre of hundreds of Bengalis, Hindus and Muslims since January 1983 leave no doubt that agitations were determined to purge Assam of all people who are not the Assamese origin. See, it was during Assam. Massacre of hundreds means killing of 100 Bengalis, Hindus, as well as Bengali Hindus, as well as Bengali Muslims since January 1983. This clearly tells us that the agitators, okay, the agitators were fully determined that Assam, okay, Assam is a place only for Assamese, and it is not of the, it is only the best place for the Assamese origin. It is not a place for who are not of Assamese origin. You are not, if you are not from Assamese origin, you are not, you don't have got the right to live in Assam. This was the case of Assam, okay? This was the case. It's very much peculiar, I told you. The case of Assam is very much peculiar. They wanted in Assam, if you are Assamese origin, then only you have got the right to settle in Assam. During the Golab Barbara ministry, March 1978 to August 1979, the emergence of students was an important phenomenon. Say, during this ministry, okay, about during the ministryship of Golab Barbara, from March 1978 to August 1979, there entered the student organization, All Assam Students Union. Very, very important, ASU, AASU, All Assam Students Union. Okay. The emergence of ASU, or All Assam Students Union, is a very important thing, which was the strongest organization. See, in Assam, this was the very much strongest organization. The slogans raised by ASU were indicative of the nature of the movement. The main demand of this organization was the explosion of foreigners. Say, the main demand of ASU, explosion of foreigners. That means those who are coming from other areas and residing in Assam, they have to immediately leave Assam. That was their main demand. That was the main demand of ASU. Is it clear? Explosion of foreigners. We don't want to see any people living in Assam who are not of Assamese origin. The Assam movement or Assam agitation. Okay. Thereafter, in Assam, the movement took place. Okay. Assam agitation can be called. Okay. Let's see. Assam agitation 1979 to 1985. This was a very, very popular movement against the undocumented immigrants in Assam. See, this movement, Assam agitation or Assam movement, which took place in the year 1979-85, 79 to 85. It was a very, very famous movement in Assam. This movement was completely against undocumented immigrants in Assam. Undocumented immigrants means the people who are coming from other areas and settling down in Assam who don't have a proper document. Is it clear? Who don't have a proper document. So they should leave Assam. That was a very popular movement. In 1978, Hiralal Patwari died, requiring a by-election in the Mangoldoli Lok Sabha constitution to fill his seat. Okay, say, in 1978, Hiralal Patwari, he died. After his death, a by-election was been held, because obviously his seat has to be fulfilled, because in Mangoldoi Lok Sabha constituency, okay, in the constituency of Mangoldoi, the seat was vacant because after the death of Hiralal Patwari, so that the seat has to be fulfilled. So for that purpose, a by-election should be held. During the process of the election, observers noticed that the number of registered voters had grown dramatically. See, during that election, when the by-election was to be held, during this election, the observers means specially these are the officials, okay, specially appointed by the government to observe during the time of election what is going on, what is happening in that constituency. So during this process of election, when the observer, they just went and just investigate, they found that, and it came to their notice that the number of registered voters had grown dramatically. All of a sudden, the number of voters had increased a lot. ASU now demanded that the election be postponed till the names of foreign nationals were deleted from the electoral rolls. Now, try to understand. Okay, by-election was been held because the death of Hiralal Patwari. The Lok Sabha constituency, Mangoldal Lok Sabha constituency seat was empty. That seat has to be filled up. So during the process of election, the observer noticed that the number of electors, the number of voters had increased dramatically. How it is possible? So immediately AASU demanded election should be postponed. We will not allow the government to held the election in our area until and unless the names of the foreign nationalists will not be deleted from the electoral rolls. First, electoral rolls means the voters list. Electoral rolls means the voter list. From that voter list, all the names of the foreign nationals should be deleted. Then only we will allow for the election in our area. Until and unless, if you don't do that, the election should be postponed. Now, ASU started demanded. Because it was surprise and it was shocking to find it out, the number of voters increasing in a very dramatically way. So ASU demanded, okay, the election has to be postponed. Till the time the names of the foreign nationals should be deleted from the electorals. The Assam agitation developed from this point. See, if this was the main point from where the Assam agitation started, my dear children, try to understand. That was the main point. That was a center point from where the Assam agitation started. The movement led by All Assam Students Union and All Assam Ganasang Parishad developed a program of protest and demonstration to compel the government to identify and expel illegal immigrants. See, so finally, ASU and All Assam Ganasang Sangram Parishad, AAGSP. These two organizations led the movement, okay, and they developed a program everywhere in Assam. There was a full protest. Demonstration was done, and these two organizations forced the government to identify and remove the illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants means you are coming from other areas, other place, and residing in the another area without any proper documents. Is that clear? So that is what you call illegal immigrants. Got it? So finally, this movement, as I told you, that was the center point for starting of this movement. So this movement was led by ASU and All Assam Students Union and All Assam Ganasangram Parishad. They led the movement, and they protested in such a way, they demonstrated in such a way, which finally forced the government to identify and remove all the illegal immigrants from Assam. In 12th of November 1979, please try to understand, please try to remember the date and the year. In 27 November 1979, AASU, that is All Assam Students Union, okay, and AAGSP, All Assam Ganasangram Parishad, they combined together and called for the closure of all education institutions and picketing in state and central government offices. These two organizations, okay, they declared for the closure of all education institutions in Assam. All the educational institutions will be closed. And they started picketing. Picketing means just to go and find it out whether the work is going on in the governments or a government or a state, central government offices or state government offices, just to find it out. That is what you call picketing. They started doing a picketing in state and central government offices. Mass picketing was arranged in front of all polling offices where candidates' nomination could be filed in the first week of December 1979. See, in the first week when the nomination to file the nomination means, for example, let's say I want to contest the election. For example, I want to contest the election. Okay, so when I am in the willing to contest my election, first I have to fill up a nomination paper, nomination file. I have to do a nomination file. Is that clear? I understand. So similarly, in all the polling offices, all the polling offices where the candidates will go and file their nomination, the mass picketing was being arranged. That was in the first week of December 1979. No candidates were allowed to file nomination papers in the Brahmaputra Valley. See, near Brahmaputra Valley, no one was allowed to file the nomination papers. Is it clear? No candidates were been given, or no candidates were allowed to file the nomination papers in the Brahmaputra Valley. December 10th, the last date for submitting the nomination papers, was declared as statewide burn. See, because see, as I've told you, they demanded the postpone of the election. They said that the election should be postponed till the names of foreign nationals were deleted from the electoral rolls. Is that clear? So they don't want anyone to go and fill up their nomination file. So the last date of submitting the nomination paper was December 10th. Try to understand. In December 10th, these two organizations declared statewide burn. They declared the whole state will be in strike now. The government declared a curfew. Okay, the government declared a curfew at different parts of the state, including the major city of Guwahati. In different parts of states, the different parts of state, government declared curfew, as well as even in the most important city of Guwahati. In Guwahati also, the curfew was been declared by the government. The agitation program was largely non-violent, but the Nili massacre was a case of extreme violence. Say, the agitation program was not so violent. The agitation program was non-violent, but in the case of one area that is called Nili, where massacre was being taken, massacre means killing of hundreds of people. Okay, that really was a case of extreme violence. As a result of agitation, the parliament passed the Illegal Immigrants by Tribunals Act IMDT in October 1983 and began to implement it in Assam. See, let's see what was the result of this agitation. What was the result of this Assam agitation? Finally, the parliament passed one act. Which is known as the Illegal Immigrants Determined by Tribunal Act in October 1983, and it was been implemented in Assam. Now, illegal immigrants in Assam is not allowed. Negotiation took place between the government and the AASU and AAGSP during the later parts of 1984 and first part of the 1985. See, in the last month of 1984 or beginning of 1985, the government and these two organizations, AASU and AAGSP, they came to a negotiation. They had a talk. In May 1985, formal talks started. Okay, they started having a talk with the government. Home Secretary led the central government team. Several rounds of talk took place. Okay, are you understanding? Several rounds of talk took place during the month of May, June, July 1985. The talks was between AASP, AAGSP and government. Several rounds of talk took place in the month of May, in the month of June, in the month of July 1985. Initially, the Assam coalition government wanted immigrants from the 1961-71 West to be disfranchised and dispersed to other areas of the country. Okay, so finally, the Assam government, during that time in Assam, there was a coalition form of government. Coalition form of government means it's not a government which has been formed by a single party. Okay, it was a type of government which has been formed by more than 2 or 3 parties, political parties. So finally, they wanted that the immigrants who had come from 1961 to 71 should be disenfranchised, disfranchised, and dispersed to other parts of the country. You have to leave Assam and you have to go and settle down in other parts of the country. By August 1985, they had agreed to a new cut-off date of January 1966. Finally, in 1985, okay, finally they agreed that January 1966, from January 1996, the immigrants who had entered illegally after that were to be detected and deported and disfranchised. Disfranchise means not to allow to live in that area. So finally an agreement came, January 1966. After January 1966, okay, after January 1966, whoever immigrants who had entered illegally in Assam, they have to be first find it out. It should be detected first, and they had to be removed and ask them to settle down in other parts of the country. The agitation program ended in August 1985 following the Assam Accord. Okay, finally we are coming towards to Assam Accord, my dear children. Please understand, Assam Accord, August 1985. Finally, the agitation ended up after signing the agreement, which is known as Assam Accord, signed in the year 1985, which was signed by the leaders of ASU, the leaders of AAGSP, and the government of India in the presence of the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. See, during that time, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. The leaders of all Assam Students Union, the leaders of all Assam Ganasangha Parishad, and the government of India was being represented by the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. They sat together and finally they signed this agreement, which is known as Assam Accord, in 1985, August 1985. After the agreement, the agitation came to an end. Is it clear? Okay. The agitators should remember that the citizens of all the states like West Bengal and Bihar have settled in Assam for purpose of profession or business. And one thing, the agitators means the person who has started the agitation. They should keep in their mind, they should remember one thing, that the citizens from all the states, they have come, like for example, some citizens from West Bengal, some citizens from Bihar, they had come and settled down in Assam for the purpose of profession or business. Is it clear? Either to do certain business, or either they might be doing some work out there. For that purpose, they had come and settled down in Assam. These agitators should remember that. These citizens have a fundamental right to reside and settle in any part of territory of India under Article 19A and E. See, the agitators also should remember, the agitators who have started the Assam agitator, the leaders of AASU, the leaders of AAGSP, they should remember one thing, that the citizens who are coming from West Bengal, the citizens who are coming from Bihar and who have settled down in Assam, they had settled in Assam for certain purpose, either for the profession, for their work, or for business. And one thing, these agitators also had to remember one thing, the citizens have a fundamental rights. We, being an Indian citizen, we have a fundamental right to settle down in any part of the territory of India under Article 19A and 19E. This should be remembered. We have got the right to go and settle down in any territory, in any part of India, Indian territory, under the fundamental right, under the Article 19A and 19E. This has to be kept in the mind. It is the right, it is the fundamental right of the Indian citizen. To remove them from Assam by violence would be a distant burial to the Constitution. See, if you are taking in such a type of initiative and removing them from Assam by sudden violent movement, then that means you are completely dumping the Constitution. You are completely burying the Constitution. You are completely killing the Constitution, and you are completely against the Constitution. If Assam is allowed to succeed, other states would likely to follow, breaking federal India into pieces, obviously. If you allow Assam, if Assam gets success, then the same thing will be followed by other states also. Even in West Bengal also, they will say only the people who are from the Bengal origin, you live in Bengal, others are not allowed. Then what you'll do? Even other states will break the federal India into pieces. So now the India will be divided into many pieces. So who will be responsible for that? The first task of the government should be to identify the citizen through government machinery and then take action against the intruders. See, so it is the responsibility of the government. The first work of the government is that first they have to identify the citizen. For what purpose they had come. Whether, yes, if they are illegal, Illegally they had entered, then obviously they should be removed. Then the actions has to be taken to the immigrants, intruders who are coming from other country or other parts and living in India, residing in Assam. First, it has to be found out that yes, that particular person is an illegal immigrant. Then an action should be taken. How can you kill everyone out there? It's not that. Okay. Okay, my dear children. So today I'll end up my class out here. Okay. We have completed about the Assam case. Then we'll, in our next class, we'll move towards to Nagaland's demand for autonomy and about Mizoram, another important northeast states of India. Okay, thank you very much.